Thank you so much. Um, my name is Max Bazerman, and I have a wonderful honor to get us started this evening on one of the true highlights of the year for us at CPL and the Gleitsman program. I'm the co-director of the center, and the center is so much about creating public good. And this evening we get to provide an award to two amazing individuals who are models of what it means to provide social service and to provide public good. This evening, we get to provide an award in the name of Alan Gleitsman, who was a wonderful social activist himself. And he provided the basis for creating an annual award, which rotates between a domestic and an international award. And this year, we'll be giving out the 2015 Gleitsman International Activist Award to Fartun, Adan, and Elman for their wonderful contribution to society. Ever since I joined CPL 2.5 years ago, the Gleitsman program in social activism is one of the real highlights of CPL. And in recent times, a lot more activity is occurring that makes us very excited about the activities that we're able to provide. Our leadership development programs in the area have expanded dramatically, with now having over 600 HKS students involved in our leadership development efforts since the inception of the program. We also have created and really got a program off to an amazing start in terms of our Leaders in Residence program. With us this evening is Deborah Borda, who is the president and CEO of the LA Philharmonic, who has been with us this fall. Deborah and Donald Kabaruka, who is the former president of the African Development Bank, have joined us this year and joined two other amazing leaders in residence, the former Tufts University President Larry Bacow and the Mercy Corps Honorary Board Chair Linda Mason, who are in their second year as leaders in residence, providing us with wonderful programming. And all of these individuals certainly fit the category of social activists. There are so many things that impress us, those of us who have an opportunity to work at the center and see our amazing fellows. One of the amazing aspects of our alums is 70% of them go on to work in public service. And those in private service often contribute to the public service in a wide variety of ways. So for us, it's a real treat to have role models for our students to see what can be done through amazing work in the area of public service and public good. I'm going to soon turn over the program to Patty Bellinger, the executive director of the center, our amazing executive director of the center. But before I do that, I'd like to welcome Tabat Mohammed, the deputy chief of mission of the Somali embassy in Washington, D.C. We're very honored that you took the time and effort to travel to be with us to honor Fartun Adan and Ilwad Elman. So thank you for that. We also have a film crew from Somalia, if you don't like the back of your heads being on film, we ask that you move out of the bandwidth, because if you're kind of in this range, you're kind of agreeing that you might well be a movie star this evening. So thank you all for joining us. Your being here creates a wonderful atmosphere for the award that we're going to provide. And with that, I turn the program over to my excellent colleague, Patty Bellinger.
And welcome to one of my favorite nights of the year. I also just want to acknowledge, and I'll say more about her later, Eve Ensler, who was kind enough to join us as well as a big supporter of Fartun And Ilwad, and has come up from New York to be here with us tonight. Today, we have the opportunity to celebrate and continue the efforts of Alan Gleitsman and Sherry Roche, two great visionaries who recognized that the power of their work could have a lasting impact on learning and on the society at large while at Harvard. Almost 25 years ago, Alan, a retired television executive who sold his extensive holdings, they were very extensive, of films and television shows to build the Gleitsman Foundation, said he created the annual Gleitsman Award to recognize people who make a difference, to tell their story, and to make other people aware of what one person, or in this case two, can do. Each year we alternate between two awards, the Citizen Activist Award given to a U.S. domestic change agent, and the International Activist Award, which we'll award tonight, given to individuals improving the quality of life in countries around the world. Past winners of tonight's award include Nelson Mandela, Sakina Yakubi, Executive Director of the Afghan Institute of Learning, and in 2013, Sasha Chanov, Founder and Executive Director of Refuge Point. Today, of course, we're awarding the Gleitsman International Activist Award to two remarkable women, Fartun, Adan, and Ilwad Elman, her daughter, for their work to rehabilitate child soldiers and combat gender-based violence in their home country of Somalia. You will hear more about them and their story from Eve Ensler in a few moments. Ilwad and Fartuun were selected this year from our largest and most competitive pool of nominees to date. They are fearless and relentless advocates for women and children in their country, and their vision and courage, realized both through the Elman Peace and Human Rights Center and Sister Somalia, inspire others to confront injustice. They treat each story of recovery with the personal attention it requires, while continuing to persevere at a programmatic level to influence policy change in their own country and around the world. And the fearless is very important, and I would like to underscore that it is our hope that this award helps to preserve and provide them with greater protection as they do this important work. The Gleitsman Award also makes it possible for us to connect inspiring activists like Fartun and Ilwad with our community of student leaders. We are proud to honor them today here and honor Alan Gleitzman's legacy every day. And I should also mention that when I saw Sherry very recently, just 2 months ago, this past fall, she actually shared with me that Alan was very committed to the cause of rehabilitating child soldiers. And when we told her about your being selected, she just said he would be so humbled and inspired by your work. And she was very, very pleased to hear of your award. I'd say the crowd tonight is a testament to just how extraordinary Fartun and Ilwad are. In addition to members of the Harvard community, we have members of the greater Boston community and Somali communities in the audience this evening. Thank you for helping us celebrate their many achievements. And many thanks to the following partner groups for organizing events to help us welcome Fartun and Ilwad to Harvard. I think they're going to fall over by the end of the night. They haven't stopped since they got here. The Carr Center, the Harvard Humanitarian Initiative, the Africa Caucus, the Gender Consortium, Harvard Human Rights Professional Interest Council, the Institute for Inclusive Security, and Futures Without Violence. And finally, the Gleitsman program makes it possible for accomplished social activists from around the globe to come to the Kennedy School as Gleitsman Leadership Fellows. CPL's Gleitsman Fellows are in the audience tonight, as well as fellows from our 8 other fellowship programs. Shout out to the fellows. And I'd also like to recognize Lisa Shannon. Lisa is a Kennedy School graduate and a former Gleitsman Fellow. And Lisa is the person responsible for Fartun and Ilwad's nomination. She knows them personally. She helped them found Sister Somalia. She's worked alongside them and has witnessed their work in many respects and has collaborated with them for some time. She's also written about them with Nick Kristof in the New York Times. She herself is a formidable human rights activist and author. She's known for her work in the international women's movement. Lisa founded Run for Congo, a global run-walk movement to raise awareness for women in the Democratic Republic of Congo. In addition, 2 books, her essays, and opinion pieces are regularly featured in the New York Times. So thank you, Lisa, for helping to bring Ilwad and Fartun to us. So before turning this over to Eve, I did want to just share one more story. I mentioned that this is one of my favorite nights of the year, but the other favorite moment I have is when we call the Gleitsman Award winner. And as it happened, Fartun was not at home when we called, so I got Ilwad. And she was kind of incoherent for a few minutes. You seem so sort of elegant and demure. The screams on the other line of the phone were absolutely remarkable. And we tried to get her to say that she would let us tell her mother ourselves and not. But by the time we got to Fartun, it was clear that Ilwad had already been doing dances around it, had already shared the wonderful news. It was a great moment. And thank you for that. So I now have the pleasure of introducing Eve Ensler. There's nobody better than Eve to tell us more about Fartun and Ilwad's remarkable work. Many of you know Eve as a renowned playwright, author of the Vagina Monologues, founder of V-Day and 1 Billion Rising. Eve is also a staunch supporter of and partner to Fartun and Ilwad. She will share more about their work with you and her collaboration with them. Eve wrote a beautiful letter of support for Fartun and Ilwad's nomination, and I know she will speak as eloquently this evening about Fartun and Ilwad and the tremendous impact their organizations have had on the fields of social justice and humanitarianism. Eve, please. Very excited to have you.
Hi, everyone. Wow, I am so moved, honored, thrilled to be here in the presence of two women I love and respect and honor with all my heart. I want to begin before I get to them by saying I am in deepest mourning and sorrow for the terrible loss of lives in the recent weeks in Lebanon, Paris, Nigeria, Syria, Iraq, Palestine, and Afghanistan. And I stand with the families who have lost and to continue to lose lives to bombings, beheadings, shootings. And I stand with my sisters throughout the world whose bodies are the landscapes on which these wars are fought. I stand in particular solidarity with my Muslim brothers and sisters throughout the world, who are the number one victims of the terror groups of ISIS, Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, and Al-Qaeda, and have suffered the loss of millions of lives from imperialist wars waged by the reckless and greed-driven policies of the US, the UK, Russia, and France. And I must say, in light of the heartless and reactionary position taken today by our Congress, I want to be clear that there are many of us, if not most of us in this country, who welcome with open arms and hearts Syrian and Iraqi refugees. Knowing full well that our foreign policies have created the conditions from which many of them are fleeing. It does not take a rocket scientist to understand that escalating racism and Islamophobia not only creates more instability and insecurity, but leads to deeper humiliation, shaming, exclusion, isolation, and hurt, which leads to further radicalization and violence. I feel blessed. And I have to say, it is the highlight of my heart right now in the light of the world we're living in to get to introduce and talk about you and honor Fartun and Ilwad. I want you all to know this is the first mother-daughter award that's been given, and I think that's amazing. And honestly, I can think of no two people more deserving of this honor. I wanted to make a shout out to Jeffrey Gettleman at the New York Times, as he is the reason I was able to meet and come to know Fartun and Ilwad. I read his front page article on the rape of women in Somalia, and these paragraphs stood out. The Elman Peace and Human Rights Center is one of the few Somali organizations helping rape victims, run by Fartun Adan, a tall, outspoken woman whose husband Elman was gunned down by warlords years ago. Ms. Adan says that since the famine began, she has met hundreds of women who have been raped and hundreds more who have escaped forced marriages. You have no idea how difficult it is for them to come forward, she said. There's no justice here, no protection. People say you're junk if you've been raped. Often the women are left wounded or pregnant, forced to seek help. Ms. Adan wants to expand her medical services and counseling for rape victims and possibly open a safe house. But it's hard on a budget of $5,000 a month provided by a small aid organization called Sister Somalia. Ms. Adan wept on a recent day as she listened to the 17-year-old girl recount the story of seeing her friends stoned to death and then being gang raped herself. These girls asked me, how am I going to get married? What's going to be my future? What's going to happen to me, she said. We can't answer that. Some of the women in Ms. Adan's office seem to have come from another time. They've made it there with help from Elman's network, from the deepest recesses of rural Somalia, where women are still treated like chattel. One 18-year-old girl who asked to go by Ms. Nur, her common last name, was married off at 10. She was a nomad and said that to this day she has never used a phone or seen a television. She spoke of being raped by 2 Shabab fighters at a displacement camp in October. She said the men did not bother saying much when they entered her hut. They just pointed their guns at her chest and uttered 2 words, stay silent. I read this and I contacted Fartun immediately. I needed to know her. I needed to touch her. I needed to do anything I could to support her work. And I feel so moved and I feel so lucky to have been on this journey with her ever since. Fartun and Ilwad have not stayed silent. They have bravely, strategically, lovingly, fiercely found a way amidst enormous terror and danger to protect women, support women, liberate women, and change the culture that oppresses them. They have exemplified and shown the world that there is indeed another way of being and transforming reality that does not involve fighter jets, machetes, terror, and rape. They have been modeling the layered, detailed, ongoing, loving methods of grassroots women's activists, committing themselves wholeheartedly to the daily business of building community, working with mothers, working with child soldiers. And I want to say how significant and important that is, because we all know that if we do not touch the men and the young boys who have been through the variety of oppressive circumstances, whether it's poverty or global capitalism or racism, or we can forced and pushed towards terror, if we do not work to undo that, we have no future. They have listened to stories, protected women, listened to their needs, excavated the core reasons for violence against women, whether they're extreme poverty, climate change and the drought in Somalia, the desecration of infrastructure, racism, patriarchy, or global capitalism. Their work is the opposite of imperialism, which defies the language of equality, the language of empathy, and which thrives on winning war and domination. The work of Fartun and Ilwad comes from identification with the marginalized and abused, as they both suffered the unbearable loss of their husband and father to terrorism. They know in their beings and bodies the impact of that violence. And I want to just say something I was thinking about today. Fartun made the decision after a certain point to leave Somalia because, like the refugees fleeing from Iraq and Syria, it was impossible to live there and survive. She was given refuge in Canada. And had she not had that refuge, she would not have been able to restore and anchor herself and build another life and build another life force inside her, which enabled her, through her own generosity and bravery, to return to Somalia. And that is why we welcome people who are fleeing terror, fleeing murders, fleeing 155 people being murdered a day in Syria, because that's what we do in this country. We offer people, every one of us here, as far as I can tell, is a refugee or an immigrant. Everyone came from someone else. So I want to just say I recognize not only your bravery in going back to Somalia, but also that you knew that you needed to take the time to change and transform what had happened to you. They offer their strengths, their hearts, their vulnerability, their loss, their sorrow, their compassion, and their vision in service and solidarity. Rather than escalating violence, they excavate the roots of it. Because as we know, until one gets to the roots and is willing to look and take time for real transformation, we will continue to live in this global spiral of death. Their program is for assistance of victims of gender-based violence. It provides counseling, health, and housing support for women in need. Elman's work has helped raise awareness locally on the issue and encourage changes in government policy. Ilwad has also carried out educational workshops through the Center for Vulnerable Members of Society and designed and implemented projects promoting alternative livelihood opportunities for both women, young and old. I want to tell you a story about Fartun, which epitomizes who she is. We were at a 3-day gathering summit in Nairobi of V-Day activists around the world, and it was an amazing gathering. And we were having a very deep and profound experience. And each day, activists would arrive and they would, share intimate stories ranging from FGM stories to violence stories to rape stories. And then we began to strategize and make plans for 1 Billion Rising. And Fartun had been very, very silent, and I was thinking, oh no, I hope she's connecting with all this, and I hope she doesn't feel alienated. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, she just stood up and had a moment, and she said, "The women of Somalia will rise. I don't know how we'll do it, but we will. I commit myself here and now to getting the women of Somalia to rise and dance in the streets of Mogadishu." And everyone in the room went completely crazy. It was like she was the core of that gathering, because her conditions were the most dangerous and the most intense. And everybody in that room was like, we're with you, do it, go for it. And she did, and they did. Somalian women rose and danced in the streets of Mogadishu. And for the first time, they broke the silence of space, of time, of energy, and they reclaimed their bodies, and they took back space, and their energy was so powerful, so liberating, so inviting that even the First Lady joined them, as did hundreds of others, breaking the silence and creating an energized space of resistance and revolution. And I just have to say, to me, that is you, Fartuun. You know, you're quiet, and you just listen, and you're careful, and then you're like, yeah, and you go. And your daughter embodies the exact same spirit. Right now, it seems to me that there are two directions we can take in the world, locally and globally. We can allow our fear and our individual self-interest to rule us, or we can follow the examples of Fartun and Ilwad, who have put their bodies on the line, who have refused to be afraid, who understand that life is fundamentally insecure and dangerous for 99% of the people on this planet. And rather than making their own security their aim, they have chosen to open their hearts and help their sisters and brothers rise. They have chosen life and love over comfort. And by doing so, they have launched a movement that is inclusive, powerful, and unstoppable. Please rise for my amazing sisters, the first mother-daughter team. We love you.
Wow. Thank you, Eve. Thank you so much. So, with that, it is our honor to present the awards to Fartun and Ilwad. And just a word about them. Alan Gleitsman enlisted Maya Lin, the renowned sculptress and an architect, who designed the Vietnam Memorial, to design the awards that we're presenting to you this evening. And we'd like you to come up and accept them, and Tom will take more pictures clearly. Take your paper, so you don't have the paper in the picture, okay? So we've asked both Fartun and Ilwad to make some remarks, and I'm going to ask Fartun to step to the podium, and then Ilwad will have a seat there, and then they'll trade off and share some of their experiences with us. Thank you.
So I'm so glad to be of this part of the whole world actually helping each other. We are working in Somalia, and when we're working in Somalia, we never thought someone will recognize the work we're doing in Somalia. And we're doing it because that's what we feel, that is our responsibility. In Somalia, this is the time for momentum for change. And be a part of that change is important to us. One of the things I'm always remember my kids, when my husband got killed, they always tell me, Mama, don't go. You're gonna be second. You're gonna get killed. I know I'm gonna die when am I supposed to die, but the time is, the work he was doing it, and I was doing in that time with him, it was last when I was in Canada, and the legacy we were losing. I was thinking, should I stay in Canada and feel safe, or should I go back to Somalia and do something about it? When I came back to Somalia, I felt I'm actually doing something. If I help one person in that day, I feel actually this is what I'm supposed to do. And when my kids came with me, I said, why are you here, guys? You're supposed to be safe and stay in Canada. But they came. Ilwad was there. And when she saw all this thing I'm doing it and the struggle I was going through, she said, okay, I'll stay a few months. I'll stay a few weeks. And now it's 5 years. It is absolutely, when we are in Somalia, we saw all this struggle, especially women going through. When we start the Sister Somalia, we were working as a human rights and going different IDP camps and seeing what the women going through. I couldn't be silent. I know it's risk, I know, but I was thinking, maybe if I said something, it might get changed. And today, we have a politician talking about the women. We have other organizations who wanted to support. We have all these people who really wanted to change. And when I see few people come together and doing this, I feel like, that's what I was looking for. And it's the change Somalia going through. I'm really glad to be part of it and to recognize the work we're doing it. And I lost my husband, but we lost so many people. And we're still losing it. So many people are getting killed every day. But if we just sit somewhere and say, I'm safe, I don't think that's right. We all have a responsibility to contribute and to be part of it. Thank you very much. I am really thanking all of you. I'm thanking Lisa Shannon to become a Somalia, and that time it was riskier than now. We talk about the women. She was in Mogadishu seeing the women. When I came to Nairobi to meet Eve, I couldn't speak, but I was thinking, can I say something? And I was thinking where I came from and the situation we were there and the work we want to do. So when I came to Mogadishu and started the 1 billion rising, I was thinking, actually we can do it. So we did it. And now it's an event we do every year, once a year. And we all expecting it, waiting to see the change. And that is one of the support we have globally. And women like those women who help the grassroots level, that is the change. And now it's not only us, it's not only women. I'm talking about the young guys and what we're going through. It's going now globally. So I hope we know the right thing to do. Thank you very much. And I really, really want to thank our ambassador who came all the way here. All the way here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will talk to let her speak Ilwad. She speaks more than me, so.
Yeah, she's already telling you that I talk too much, but wow. First of all, thank you so much. This is such a huge honor. I don't even know what to say. The Gleitsman Award has been given to people that I very much respect and have looked up to and found inspiration from, and to be standing here today to receive this award, it's beyond me. So thank you very much to the Harvard Kennedy School. Thank you to Patty and Lisa for this tremendous honor. I have to say thank you so much to my friend, my sister, Lisa Shannon. She believed in our vision of helping women in Somalia at a time that most of the world has written Somalia off as one of the most forgotten places. Most people thought Somalia, Black Hawk Down, or more recently, Captain Phillips. No one thought about the human suffering happening in Somalia, and you made a bold sacrifice to come and to lobby and fundraise and throw house parties in your house, and look where we are today. I'm so humbled to know you and for the work that we've done together, and I feel really privileged to be recommended for this award by women that I very much look up to. Eve Ensler, Lisa Shannon, Amanda Lindo. These are all women I think are so deserving of this honor, and for them to recommend me and my mom, I think it's tremendous. Also for me to share this honor with a woman that I greatly respect, a woman that is my mentor, my friend, my boss, my mother. It's a real turning point for me, I think. I decided to go back to Somalia to join my mother, as she said, first to understand what was compelling her to stay in Somalia. She left my sisters and I when I was still quite young, and she thought that we were in a position to take care of ourselves. And we had always known that she wanted to go back to Somalia. But when we would lose contact with her for weeks at a time, she used to call us on the phone, and sometimes we wouldn't hear from her. All we knew about Somalia was what we saw in the media. We hear about an explosion, we hear about an attack, and then we just would not have contact with her. So when I decided to go back to Somalia, it was to first understand the conditions which were compelling her to stay there. And then when I came to Somalia, I saw the work that she was doing, the people that depended on her the way we depended on her, and that there were more than the three of me and my sisters, so I understood why she couldn't leave. I started working with her, and I saw that one thing that she did in a day was affecting so many people, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I got a chance to be a part of that, and ever since then, I haven't been able to leave. I think about my mother sometimes and her courage and her strength, and by the age that she was 24, she had me and my two sisters. She lived in a refugee camp. She moved to a new country, learned a new language. She lost her husband. All of that with small children in tow, all of that in the background of a culture that really dismissed her because she didn't have any sons. And this is something that I saw firsthand when we came back to Somalia, where she was completely written off by my own family, saying that she didn't have any sons, so she doesn't matter. And that strength inspires me. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy to have her standing next to me, and because she's with me in the most difficult of circumstances, I know that anything that comes our way, we can handle it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That was just beautiful. I think you weren't the only one with tears in your eyes, Ilwad. Without much further ado, I'm going to invite everybody to the reception behind, but I just wanted to thank a couple of people from our team at CPL. Lisa Eschenbach, who has shepherded the Gleitsman Award. This is the first year she's done it. She's done an amazing job. And also Lael Harris and Jackie Murphy, who really pulled this event together, and a lot of other associated events that you haven't seen, but that Ilwad and Fartuun have been conducting, and Lisa Shannon as well. And then to bring Eve Ensler here, it's just been a spectacular experience, and they've worked really hard. So I just want to thank them and ask all of you to thank them. So please pass through the back room and join us for the reception. Thank you very much.